Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is when you finally got a chance to sit down and spend 30 minutes with this incredible conversation with a guest that we've been waiting quite some time to have on the show due to her incredibly heavy travel schedule and work obligations. This afternoon, this morning, we have with us Anna Pinto, who has one of the most interesting backgrounds in all of travel. But I want to first tell you that her company, Micato Safaris, has, I have to read this every time, has been named Travel and Leisure's #1 best safari outfitter for an unprecedented 10 times. So Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rodney. It's my pleasure to be here this morning to chat with you on all things Africa.
Well, and there's probably not very many people on the planet that know more about safaris and luxury safaris in Africa than you and your entire family. Tell us a little bit about what you do to get this unprecedented reward from Travel and Leisure magazine. I mean, 10 consecutive. Wow.
Well, I guess I'd like to take all the credit, but it's really not me. I'm out there doing the selling and promoting the family business, but it's really my parents in the destination, our team in our destinations that are out there with our guests that are delivering a luxury safari in a third world country. That's not always easy. So I really, the praise really goes to them, and to our staff in the US that plan the itineraries and make sure everything goes flawless.
Well, and flawless it seems to be, because every time we send someone on a Micato Safari, they come back raving about it. And the good thing is they tell all their friends.
Well, that's what we want to hear.
I understand that you practically grew up on safari. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about your childhood in Kenya?
Yes, I think I was a privileged child. School was never something I really loved doing, and living in Africa, I got to play a lot. We grew up on a farm in Karen, adjacent to the Nairobi National Park. So I was a very popular child. Everybody wanted to come and spend the weekends with us because it was a working farm. So we had pigs and cows and chickens. And at dusk, my father would lock us in the farmhouse. And I had 15 dogs at one time. I was always allowed to have 15 dogs, no more. And so at nighttime, my mother would have to corral them in because the leopard loves dog. It's a delicacy for them.
Ooh.
So the animals, the dogs would be corralled in the house, and I was allowed to have 4 dogs to sleep with me every night. Needless to say, I had a very stinky room that had to be aired out and sheets washed every day. But yes, so my dad would sort of lock us up in the house, and early the next morning, the guards would come by and say, gosh, I don't know how you're going to break the news to Anna, but Daisy, her pet cow, just got eaten last night by 3 lionesses that were able to get in and get us. So we, it was like living on safari, really. And growing up, I had a pet monkey that I grew up with. We had a giraffe that lived with us for many years before it got released back into the wild. And Saturdays were a wonderful time because I would put on my Wellington boots and walk the farm, and I would have every animal following me, whether they were geese or turkeys or ducks or cows or bulls and cats. Amazing. And rabbits. And so it was really like having a Noah's Ark. So for a child, it was, quite amazing to be surrounded by loving animals that just, gave you as much love as possible. So living almost right next door to the national park was wonderful as a child.
Except on those rare mornings when you found out that one of your favorite pets had been taken overnight.
Yeah, not good, which meant I wouldn't go to school for a week. So because it was
Well,
very, very traumatic.
so how did your parents make the move into the safari business? Because if I'm not mistaken, your parents are from India originally, right?
Yes, which 3 generations Kenyan, but originally from India.
Yeah.
And my dad worked for actually the British government and then the Kenyan government in agriculture. And he bought this farm, which, like I said, was a working farm, and then grew mushrooms. And we were the second largest exporter of mushrooms in the world. South Africa was number 1, and then my dad was number 2. So we exported mushrooms to Europe. Kenya actually is a huge producer of vegetables to Europe. During COVID, Kenya shut their borders between March and September. No flights were allowed to come in or out except for the flights that would take in produce to feed Europe. So growing vegetables was a big part of what my family also did, and growing up on the farm and providing mushrooms and eggs and milk and bacon and pork and beef to the local communities. And at weekends, we loved going away on safari. So my parents would put us in a vehicle and off we would go and spend a weekend at some random camp. And eventually my mother's friends decided they wanted to join us. And before we knew it, she was planning all these trips. And so she decided, well, what better way than to start a company and take people doing what she loved best. It really wasn't like a job. It was, again, going on vacation, most times. So that's really how we got started. It was really my mom. We never expected it to grow as it did. And one thing led to another, and my dad got involved. And before we knew it, my brother was involved, and my aunt and my cousins, and kicking and screaming, I got dragged into the business.
Well, as the world's #1 safari provider, at least according to Travel and Leisure magazine, which I think that's a pretty good seal of approval there, how have you seen the business evolve over the last 15, 20 years?
Yeah. So I would say about 30 years ago, most of our business was pretty much people that were in their 60s and 70s and retired. Today, we notice that our demographics changed quite often, quite a lot, from the honeymooners that want to do more of a destination honeymoon, a little more luxurious. So anywhere from 28 and up. Our average age today, I would probably say, is about 45 and up. So people are spending time going longer distances and really just doing safaris. They might tag on a little bit for a beach vacation, 2 or 3 days, especially if they're on their honeymoon. But it's over the last 30 years, it's definitely become younger people. And since COVID, we're doing a lot of multi-gen. So quite a few of our travelers are traveling with their grandparents, their parents, their kids, grandkids.
Right. We just, the Naples Daily News here in Naples, Florida, did a feature story on us several years back. After spending a day with us and looking at the multi-gen trips that we had planned for our clients, and they put us on the front page of the business section, and I had nothing to do with the title of the article. I didn't even see it until it was printed. But the title they came up with was "Take the Kids and Pick Up the Tab."
Well, like I say to the grandparents, they're spending the inheritance of their children, really. So
Exactly.
why not? Because it's wonderful memories for the grandkids.
We do a trip with all of our children and grandchildren every 2.5 to 3 years, and we've never had a no-show. When Dad or Grandpa's paying, everybody shows up.
Of course. Why would you have a no-show?
And these people come in, they go, well, we want to run all this by our children and see if they're on board. No, you plan the trip, you tell them where you're going, and you will not get a no.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a ton of folks that are watching this podcast that have never been on a safari. So Can you share with them a little bit of the whole experience, especially the Micato experience?
Sure. So once we talk to somebody and they've decided they want to go out on safari, we ask the questions: why do they want to go on safari? Is it to visit a great city? Is it to enjoy fine wine? Is it to meet the local people? Is it to see the herds of animals? What is it that why do they want to go to Africa? And then we determine what country we should send them to. Once we've decided on the destination, whether it's Southern Africa or East Africa or Rwanda to see the gorillas, we then design the itinerary, usually a year in advance, if not 2 years in advance, especially if we're looking at multiple rooms for multi-gen. We then get them excited on the safari. A few months before they leave, they receive packing information, they receive lists of what books they should read or what movies they should see. And then nearer the time, we send them the goodies. We send them a Micato duffel bag with a handle and wheels. Because when you're flying in the destination, the planes are small and these soft side duffels are wonderful to squish in the planes. We send them a coffee table book. We send them movies and Micato popcorn. We send them flashlights and hats and luggage tags. So we're getting them excited about the safari. Then they land in the destination and we have someone meet them right off the flight, walk them through customs and immigration, identify their bags, and then they never ever touch their bags again.
You know, that walking them through customs and immigration is really high touch, because I remember the first time I went to Africa, I didn't have that. I didn't travel with Micato the first time, but I didn't have that. And it was like, talk about the old song, Stranger in a Strange Land. I was that, and I felt lost as a goose, but you guys make it absolutely seamless.
We try. We've traveled the world ourselves and got somewhere and there's no one to meet us and we don't have the local currency and we don't know how to call them because our phone is a US phone. So I think it's been trial and error. So meeting somebody right off the plane makes it really easy. They identify their bags. We then introduce them to their safari director who travels with them throughout. From the moment they meet this person is with them the entire time they're traveling with us. So if they've got any allergies or they're a vegan, it's his job or her job to let the chefs know at every camp, so they don't have to repeat themselves. Right. So once they get to the destination, we take them to the hotel. We have a whole concierge team that's there to assist them with anything, with meals, or if they've forgotten their prescription or they lost their spectacles and so these girls are wonderful to help with all of that. And then you go off on safari. It's usually about an hour's flight to the destination. You're flying these wonderful planes and the pilot will buzz over the animals that are on the airstrip and they all scatter and then he lands and there are the Micato vehicles to welcome you. And you're about half an hour away from the lodge. We get you to the lodge. It's usually little before lunchtime, unpack, freshen up a little bit. Now, if you've got me in your vehicle, it might take a couple hours before you get to the lodge because even though I've done literally hundreds of safaris, it never gets old. There's always something I want to see. So I'll tell you what a typical day on safari is. Okay. Basically, you get up early in the morning. They wake you up at about 6:30. Your room steward will come in with coffee or tea or hot chocolate in my case and croissants and cookies. And then you come down to the lobby and you can have another cup of coffee and tea and you meet your safari director. And then you go out into the vehicles. Everybody gets a window seat. And in the morning, it's a little cool. It could be in the low 60s. And so we ask you to dress in layers. And then you drive for about half an hour or 10 minutes, depending on where the animals are. We don't give them boarding passes, so we don't really know where they're going to be. And then you view the animals for a few hours. You come back to the lodge or camp, and it's a full buffet. So it's eggs and bacon and sausages and pastries and all the cereals, fresh fruits and green juices and whatever yogurts. And so you just sit and you enjoy your breakfast. Often at the camps and lodges, the animals are right there so you can watch them. And then usually after breakfast, you go back to your tent. You get out of your safari clothes, maybe put on a swimsuit or shorts or a skirt, and then you enjoy the lodge. You can walk around, read a book, lay down by the pool, and then it's lunchtime. Lunch is usually, again, a buffet, so you can help yourself to salads. If you're like me, I start at the dessert section and then work backwards. And then in the afternoon, you can take a nap, get a massage. And then about 3:30, being a good former British colony, it's tea time. So once again, you're eating. It's very much like a cruise. You're constantly eating if you want. You will gain 5 pounds. Yeah. And then after tea, again, you go out to look for the animals. The best time to really see the animals is first thing in the morning or late in the afternoon. And then you come back, before you get back to the lodge, we do sundowners. So you can sit and enjoy your gin and tonic or
right out on safari.
Exactly, right out there, watching the sun come down. And often there are animals pretty close that are watching us. They're just intrigued about us as we are with them. And then you come back at about 6:37. I usually take a shower and put on clean clothes, and then head to dinner. Dinner is usually a sit-down meal, usually a soup course, and then fish, and then a meat course, or vegetarian if you're vegetarian, a nice dessert, coffee and cheese, and you're usually in bed by 9:30, because you're up early in the morning. The nights are my favorite time because it is so quiet. There are no lights out there. There's no sirens. There's no honking. All you hear are the animal sounds. And you could hear a lion roaring 10 miles away, and he sounds like he's right next door. Yeah. So the evenings are really pleasant, and most people sleep really well once they get over the animal noises and realize that the animals can't really get to them. Most of the lodges and camps have electric fences, which we can't see. The animals know they're there, so they have no interest to try and come in to visit us, or so that's pretty much a typical day on safari. Now, there are lots of things you can do on safari. You can go hot air ballooning, which is I always say, if you're going to go on a hot air balloon, don't do it in Palm Springs.
No.
Do it in Africa, where you're sailing 50 feet or 100 feet up above the animals, and the only time they hear you is when they hear a loud whoosh and the animals scatter. And then after about an hour, you land, and the pilots flip over the burners and cook you an English breakfast. And so you're right there in the plains, surrounded by animals, and they could be 2 or 3 feet away from you.
Right.
So you enjoy your morning. So that's one of the excursions you can do. You can go horseback riding alongside the zebra and the giraffe, and that's always a fun thing to do. So there are lots of activities. You can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go for a walk with one of the trackers. So you're kept pretty busy. Most people are tired by the time you get to bed.
Yeah, that really painted a great picture of what a day's like. And by the way, just for the listeners who haven't been, if there's more than one plane, don't get on the first plane thinking you're going to get to the next camp first, because that first plane is going to fly over and buzz the runway to make sure there's no animals, no wildlife on the runway. And so as it says in the Bible, the first shall be last. And you go to the end of the line and follow the other plane or planes in for your landing. So if you have a first thing, like I always want to be first, don't get in the first plane, because you're not going to land. That first plane is not going to land usually.
Well, I won't be following you, Rodney.
Well, how does, we talk about luxury, and it's hard for some people to envision, okay, we're going on a safari, we're staying in some of these tent kind of things, they say, but they tell me they have hot and cold running. But what is luxury on a safari?
So luxury is a big word. And when we say it's 5-star, 5-star is also a big word, right? I mean, there's different levels of 5-star, and there's different levels of luxury. People that have traveled with us are truly blown away at the camps. There are four-poster beds in some of the camps. The sheets are beautiful, high thread count. So when you slip in the sheets at nighttime, it's just a pleasure. The pillows are down pillows. The showers, hot and cold showers. Meals, the food is just superb. And like I said, you will gain at least 5 pounds. So it's always interesting because everybody takes their granola bars and all their treats and their Snickers. And at the end of the trip, they have all this candy that they don't know what to do with. And so we usually give it to the children as we're leaving. But most people are surprised because they're not sure what type of food they're going to have. And, it's very international. So every day it's different cuisine. It could be Italian, it could be Indian, it could be Thai, it could just be straight steaks. I'm a steak lover, so I'm quite happy having steak, 3 nights a week. And if there's something that you want or crave or, the chefs are very well trained. So they're willing, they want to please, they want to come out and talk to you about what they're cooking. So, yeah. So luxury is, for us is, being pampered, not having to worry about what time's the plane coming. We're one of the few companies that have a safari director that travels with you from the moment you arrive to the moment you leave. Mm-hmm. So we don't want you thinking about anything. All the gratuities are included with traveling with Micato, including the gratuities for the safari directors and the drivers. So you never have to put your hand in your pocket to tip a waiter or a housekeeper or your safari director at the end of the trip. We really try and make it, seamless. We don't want to be nickeling and diming. We really want you to feel, if you want to go and dine in a different restaurant when you're in a city with us, we will give you a complimentary car and driver and take you to the restaurant, and we will even pick up the tab for you. So, we want you to enjoy. We often used to say it's a once in a lifetime trip. No. Not so anymore. We see people coming back time and time and time again.
I went kicking and screaming the first time I went to Africa, and I've gone every chance I had since to go back. So but real quick, because we're running out of time, you guys do something really, really neat in your philanthropy effort there in Africa, and that's with the children. Tell the listeners a little bit about what Micato does with every guest that travels with Micato Safaris.
So we call it our 1-for-1 program. So for every person that travels with us, we educate a child that wouldn't get the opportunity to go to school. So we've educated thousands of children, thanks to our guests and your guests that travel with us. And if they would like to go and visit America Share, which is our nonprofit organization, we will take them there. 99.9% of our guests go to America Share and get to see all the good that we've done. There's a library that we have built. There's a computer center with 100 plus computers for the local community to come in and enjoy. We provide local drinking water, fresh water for the community, and for a lot of these children, they would never have this education. Right. So we pick one child per family. We have a doctor in our midst. We have a second doctor that's going to qualify. So once these children graduate, we try to find them jobs around Kenya. So it's a wonderful opportunity to go in and visit America Share, which is not far from the hotel they're staying in or not far from one of our airports.
Well, it's truly amazing because I've been to Africa several times, and I've been to some of the schools and seen the children getting educated, and they're so happy. They're so eager, and they're like sponges. They just soak that learning opportunity up. And you guys are awesome with what you do with the children there to take children that would never have had a chance for that education.
And honestly, we couldn't do it without all the Americans that travel with us. It just, we're very, very grateful. And these children and the families know that when we bring them to the community, they realize that it's thanks to our guests that they have this opportunity. And for these children, they have very little. The education is their world. They feel super wealthy that they're going to go to school and come back with an education, So,
well, and I could talk for another 2 hours about what you guys do and about the whole continent of Africa. But I really, really appreciate you being here with us today. And I know our listeners will really enjoy digging a little bit deeper. And if they have questions, we'd encourage them to give us a call, because we have 10 ladies in our office, including me. I got the easiest job in the world. I work with 10 ladies that cumulatively have over 200 years of travel experience. So chances are we've been there, done that. But in this particular case, we'd love to let our friends at Micato show you how to do Africa in style and luxury that you're worthy of. As we close every one of our shows with my favorite saying to all of you is to get out there and enjoy yourself, because it is later than you think.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.